David Ben-Gurion stands as one of the most pivotal and complex figures in modern Jewish and Middle Eastern history. As the founding father of the State of Israel, his leadership, vision and tenacity forged a nation from ideologically divided immigrant populations amid hostile surroundings and political uncertainty. A man of contradictions, secular yet respectful of tradition, a socialist who wielded central authority with ruthless pragmatism, Ben-Gurion embodied the turbulent birth of a modern state. David Ben-Gurion was born David Grun on October 16, 1886 in Plonsk, a small town in Russian-controlled Poland. His father, Avigdor Grun, was a committed Zionist and an early follower of Theodor Herzl, the father of modern political Zionism. The Zionist spirit was imprinted early on the young David, who joined the Ezra youth movement at age 14 and co-founded a group called Poale Zion, Workers of Zion, by 1904. Plonsk had a thriving Jewish community, but the rising tide of anti-Semitism and pogroms across Eastern Europe hardened Ben-Gurion's belief that Jews could only survive through self-determination in a sovereign homeland. This belief was reinforced by the failed Russian Revolution of 1905, which dashed hopes of Jewish emancipation through socialist revolution within the diaspora. In 1906, Ben-Gurion immigrated to Ottoman Palestine as part of the second Aliyah, a wave of Jewish immigrants largely from Eastern Europe. He embraced agricultural labor as a Zionist act of reclaiming the land. He worked in the settlements of Petah Tikva and later in Segera, enduring malaria, poverty, and harsh conditions. During this period, he adopted the Hebrew name Ben-Gurion, symbolizing his rejection of exile and commitment to Jewish sovereignty. His ideology fused socialist principles with practical Zionism, the idea that Jews must not only return to their homeland, but also rebuild it with their own hands. As Arab-Jewish tensions escalated in Palestine, Ben-Gurion became increasingly focused on self-defense and Jewish autonomy. He co-founded Hashoma, an early Jewish defense organization, and began organizing workers into collectives that would evolve into the powerful labor federation, the Histadrut. Expelled by the Ottomans in 1915 for his Zionist activities, Ben-Gurion relocated to the United States, where he continued to build support for Jewish settlement in Palestine. During the war, he volunteered to join the Jewish Legion of the British Army, believing that Jewish military service could help gain international support for Zionism. With the Balfour Declaration of 1917 and the subsequent British Mandate for Palestine, Ben-Gurion returned to the land with renewed purpose. He helped establish the Achdut Havoda, or Unity of Labor Party, and rose to prominence within the Yishuv, the organized Jewish community in Palestine. By 1921, he was elected Secretary General of the Histadrut. Under his leadership, the Histadrut grew into a quasi-state institution running schools, hospitals, and businesses. This not only centralized Jewish labor and economic power, but also established Ben-Gurion as the de facto leader of the Yishuv. Ben-Gurion's primary mission during this period was preparing the Yishuv for eventual independence. As head of the Jewish Agency from 1935, he coordinated immigration, land acquisition, and diplomatic efforts. The horrors of the Holocaust transformed Zionism from a nationalist dream into an urgent humanitarian necessity. Ben-Gurion worked tirelessly to increase Jewish immigration, both legal and illegal, against British restrictions. He organized clandestine immigration, known as Aliyah Bet, established the Haganah as a disciplined paramilitary force, and lobbied foreign governments, especially the United States, for support. He believed the post-war moment was ripe for statehood, even as Britain tried to limit Jewish immigration to appease Arab opposition. Ben-Gurion supported the 1947 UN partition plan, recognizing it as a rare opportunity for Jewish sovereignty, even if it meant accepting a divided land. While many in the Yishuv mourned the compromise, Ben-Gurion viewed pragmatism as essential. When Arab forces responded to the partition with violence, civil war broke out. Ben-Gurion, now both a political and military leader, took command of strategy. He coordinated arms deals, most critically with Czechoslovakia, and prepared the Yishuv for the coming war. On May 14, 1948, Ben-Gurion stood before the People's Council in Tel Aviv and read Israel's Declaration of Independence. The next day, 5 Arab nations invaded. Ben-Gurion's wartime leadership was uncompromising. He dissolved rival Jewish militias such as the Irgun and Lehi, often by force, and placed all military assets under the newly created Israel Defense Forces, or IDF. This controversial move culminated in the Alta Lena affair, a violent clash between the IDF and Irgun forces over arms control. Victory in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War came at great cost. Thousands died, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were expelled, and Jerusalem was divided. Yet Ben-Gurion had achieved the seemingly impossible, sovereign Jewish independence after 2,000 years. As Israel's first prime minister and defense minister, Ben-Gurion oversaw the construction of national institutions, the Knesset, the judiciary, the military, and a sprawling bureaucracy. He prioritized 3 goals. First was mass immigration and absorption. Between 1948 and 1951, Israel's population doubled. Ben-Gurion orchestrated the ingathering of exiles, bringing Holocaust survivors and Jews from Arab lands into Israel. Integration was chaotic, often unequal, and marred by racism, particularly toward Mizrahi Jews, but it defined the nation's demographic character. Second was national infrastructure. Ben-Gurion promoted development in the Negev desert water infrastructure like the national water carrier and state-owned industries. He championed the kibbutz model and viewed rural, self-sustaining life as vital to the Israeli spirit. And thirdly, security and foreign policy. Ben-Gurion's doctrine was clear: Israel must be militarily self-reliant and strategically unpredictable. He forged alliances with France and later the United States. In 1956, Israel participated in the Sinai campaign alongside Britain and France, briefly occupying the Sinai Peninsula before international pressure forced a withdrawal. By the early 1960s, Ben-Gurion faced increasing political opposition. Scandals, internal party struggles, and weariness led to his resignation in 1963. Yet he soon returned to politics, forming the Rafi party after breaking with Mapai. He continued to advocate for national unity and the development of the Negev, where he settled in the SDE Boca kibbutz. There, the image of the old man of the desert became iconic, an elder statesman still obsessed with the dream of a resilient, pioneering Israel. Ben-Gurion passed away in 1973, just months after the Yom Kippur War. David Ben-Gurion's influence on Israeli society is incalculable. He was not just a founder, he was the architect, bricklayer, and often the foreman of the entire structure. He created a political culture that emphasized unity, defense, and pragmatism. Yet his legacy is deeply complex. He marginalized rival voices, downplayed religious influence in public life, and was willing to engage in morally ambiguous actions during wartime. His attitudes toward Palestinians remain a subject of intense debate. Nevertheless, he is widely regarded as one of the most important leaders of the 20th century. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.